and welcome to Plan Patterns. My name is Josefine and today I'm going to show you a pattern hack for the Vera pattern. So if you haven't got the pattern yet, I will put the link down below in the description box so you can get it. This is one of my favorite patterns. I'm actually wearing view C today, and this is the view we're gonna talk about. So in the pattern, it comes with a facing, which is kind of a special facing because the sleeve construction is not the most common type of sleeve. So the facing is kind of short, it goes like this. But today I'm gonna show you how to make a lining instead of a facing. So for example, I'm using a quite sheer fabric today with strawberries on it, the cutest fabric ever. So I wanted to add a lining so the top would not be see-through and you can wear a bra underneath and stuff. I asked my friend Kitten to model for me in celebration of my new extended size range, and I'm so glad I did. Just look at this footage and you will see what I mean. She chose this fabric herself and I think it suits her really well. So the new size range is available in the Vera pattern and in the Joren leggings pattern so far. I will update all of my older patterns to include this new size range. If you're interested, you can check it out on my website. If you have the paper pattern, it will look something like this, and inside you will have the instruction booklet, which looks like this. So you can just follow along if you also want to make a lining instead of a facing for the Vera top. In the instruction booklet you will find a size guide, how to measure and which size to choose. You will also find finished garment measurements, so you can choose based on your body measurements and also on the finished garment measurements. You will need an outer fabric, a lining fabric, matching thread for both of these fabrics, preferably the same thread for the whole project, and you will need elastic for the sleeves. You will also need a small button and also a button loop. It could be some elastic or a ribbon, for example. So we're gonna begin in the same way as the instructions say. So cutting out the fabric, we are going to cut out all of the pieces in the strawberry fabric, so your outer fabric, and but we're gonna skip all of the facing pieces. So we're gonna end up with one bodice front, two bodice backs mirrored, and then two sleeve pieces. We're also going to cut out the bodice pieces out of the lining fabric. So one front and two mirrored back pieces. Then you're gonna mark your notches as you would normally do. I'm using Pilot Friction erasable pens to mark my darts because this pen is actually removable with heat. So when I press with my iron later, the lines are going to disappear. It's like magic. And we're going to continue with the instructions in the normal way. So we're going to sew the bust darts. We have 4 bust darts to sew on the outer fabric and also on the lining fabric.
press the darts downwards. And here you can hopefully see, when I put heat on the fabric, the lines from the Pilot Friction erasable pen disappears.
Once we have sewn the bust darts, it's time to stay stitch. This is really important if you're using a viscose fabric, for example, which is really drapey and it can lose its shape and get a bit dragged out if you're not careful. So stay stitching basically just means a normal straight stitch to keep the measurement the same. And then we're going to overlock or serge. So you don't have to overlock around the neckline and armhole because that's all going to be encased in the lining. So, but all of the side seams and the sleeves are important to overlock. Then we're going to work on the sleeve. So this is exactly the same as in the instructions, like you would normally do. So fold over the top part of the sleeve and press. And then you're going to sew the casing for the elastic. So you sew right next to your overlock and then 1.5 centimeters away from that seam, so you have a channel for your elastic.
The sleeve is now ready to insert the elastic, so just use a safety pin and your elastic and feed the elastic through the channel you just made. And then you're going to secure the elastic at the beginning point so it doesn't move around, and keep feeding the elastic through the channel. Once you get to the end, secure the elastic in place the same way as you did before. And this is the result. And now it's time for the shoulder seams. Place the bodice pieces right sides together and sew the shoulder seams both on the outer fabric and the lining fabric. Then press your seam allowances open. Prepare your button and your button loop. Secure the button loop 1 centimeter down from the center back top and secure it in place on the back bodice piece. Then place your bodices right sides together, so the outer fabric and the lining fabric, and sew around the neckline and parts of the armhole, so from notch to notch. Cut off any excess bulk so it's easier to turn, and clip your curved seams. Then turn it inside out or outside out by pulling the back pieces through the shoulders towards the front pieces. Then press the seams so they lay flat. Attach the sleeves to the right side of the outer bodice, from the armhole up to the notch on both sides. start your seam 1 centimeter from the actual edge at the lowest point in the armhole, and then sew all the way up to the notch. But you will need some extra space where the side seams meet. Then we're going to sandwich the sleeve piece between the outer bodice and the lining, so that the lining and the outer piece are placed right sides together with the sleeve in between, so that we secure all 3 layers with the next seam. So this is what it should look like at the edge of the seam, at the top of the side seam. So we have 3 layers, and they are all with a little bit of margin at the beginning. Now go ahead and sew your side seam of the outer fabric right sides together. So that means the sleeve and the outer fabric side seam.
Okay, it's a bit messy here in the armhole now, but this is the sleeve piece, sewn right sides together all the way to this intersection here. And then there's the side seam of the outer fabric, the strawberry fabric, also sewn right sides together all the way to this seam here. And then we have the lining pieces. So we also want to sew the front lining and the back lining side seam right sides together. So what we have to do is kind of take away all of the seam allowances so that we can move these two together. And it's going to be a bit squished here in the middle, but that's okay. It's not going to be visible from the outside. So we just pinch these two together, and then we sew right sides together, 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way to the hem. This is what it looks like now. So this is the outer fabric of the bodice, and this is the lining bodice, and then we have the sleeve sandwiched in between here, but we also have some openings, so we're going to close them. First we're going to press the side seams apart on the lining and on the outer fabric, and then when we place it all together, we're gonna sew like this. So do we sew the armhole seam through all of these layers, and that's gonna make the gap close. So this is what it looks like. And this is from the right side. So this is the sleeve, and this is where it attaches to the bodice. And this is on the inside, where the lining is attached to the armhole. And this is the sleeve. Now for the center back seam. So this is the opening for the button loop, and the button is going to be here, and then it's going to be open until this point. It's a bit bulky here, so we're going to clip into the seam allowance right after the seams come together here. So you're gonna clip right there and right there. And now it looks like this, and it's going to be much easier to handle. I've placed the lining pieces right sides together, and I'm going to sew a little bit longer than where I clipped to about here, so that the seams overlap. I have sewn the center back on the lining piece, and then I have the outer piece here, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm sewing all the way here, and then a little bit overlapping here, but only through the outer layer fabrics. And this is what it looks like from the outside. So now it's time to hem. On the sleeves, I'm going to do as the instructions say, so just fold twice, 1/2 centimeter plus 1/2 centimeter to create a double folded hem. And I'm going to do the same on the outer layer. On the inside, the lining, I'm actually going to put 1 centimeter and 1 centimeter, so that I'm making sure the hem is, the lining is a bit shorter than the outer layer, so it's not sticking out.
After finishing the hems, you can go ahead and sew on your little button by hand. And this is the final result. I think Kitten looks great in this top and she loves it. So that was really fun to make for her, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.
If you want to make your own Vera top for summer, check out the pattern in the description box below. Until next time, happy sewing!